Welcome to day 2 of the Abundance Now Summit. I'm your host, Sean Q, and in this keynote address by the Executive Director of the School of Abundance and my business partner, Brian Buck, you are going to discover the exact coaching model that me and Brian use to certify our coaches and to create incredible results with our clients. You're going to want to lean into this session because this is going to set the tone for the rest of the day. Now, get your pen and paper out, get your screenshot fingers out. You're going to want to take notes. I'm so excited. Let's give a huge round of applause to the Executive Director of the School of Abundance, Brian Buck.
I am so excited to be here, Sean. Thank you so much.
This is going to be
a blast.
I am so excited that you're here, and it's going to be pretty incredible. I always have a good time when I'm having a conversation with you, and whether we're talking Star Wars or coaching, it's always insightful, and so I'm super excited for this session. Brian, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, I am so happy to be a part of today where we're going to kick off day number 2 with the abundance method and how to create wild breakthrough in your clients' lives. And what we're going to teach you today is what is going to greatly help you affect clients in becoming more abundant in their life. And it's also something that you can use regardless of what your coaching specialty is. So let's jump in. What is something you believe would be good for you that you aren't doing yet? I want you to really think through. Maybe it was something in a book. Maybe it was a piece of advice. Maybe it's a piece of advice you give to clients and you keep reminding yourself, oh, okay, that's something I need to do. Think about that. And now I want you to think, why haven't you done it yet? The main reason why we hit the brakes before we ever accelerate is what is called as interference. These are the things inside of us that keeps us from actually stepping out and doing what we know will help us. It's the same thing that happens with our clients. Another way of thinking about it is interference. It's really a form of fear. And when I saw this picture, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what happens." Just like your phone cords or any other cords behind your TV, when they get all wound up, like your headphones, and they get all crazy and wild like that, our brains get tangled up in all of this fear. And as much as inside we want abundance, we want to be abundant, we want to experience abundance, this interference is what gets in our way. One of my favorite bands of all time is Pearl Jam, and they have a song called Inside Job. And one of the lyrics in there says, "Life comes from within your heart and desire." And actually, abundance comes from within your heart and desire. And when we know that it's inner work, it's an inside out transformation, that abundance is inside of you, it's inside of your clients. We also look at our hearts are often caged. We have something interfering with our hearts truly shining and stepping out. Alan Fine is an amazing coach that I learned this model from. And there's 3 key drivers to what cause our interference. And he puts them as faith, fire, and focus. Faith is, what are our beliefs? Are we confident? Do we have a growth mindset? Do we believe we're going to get better, that we have the capability of learning? Or do we have faith that this is not for me? Do I have faith that it's not available? So faith is a huge interference. Fire, what's our passion and our commitment? There might be things that we say we want, but we're wah wah. We're really not passionate about it. We might as well be like, I wish I had abundance. I wish things were easy, but I'm not passionate about it. Or maybe we're just indifferent. Abundance? So when we really think about the interference, or is the fire working for us, or is it something that keeps us from really stepping out into abundance? And then our focus. What do we pay attention to? Are we seeing all the good, or are we just focusing on the bad? We want to focus on both because sometimes I think we could have a little bit of toxic positivity, or like everything's great, everything's abundant. Meanwhile, everything's on fire behind you. But if you focus, even if everything's on fire behind you, on, you know what, this is a challenge, but I know how I can move forward. So, as coaches, and we go into this next model, I want you to really think about, from an interference perspective, where does faith, fire, and focus help us, and where does it hinder us and our clients? The good news is abundance is available for everybody. I want you to right now turn to your virtual partner, or even just tell it to yourself, record it on your phone, and I want you to say, abundance is available for me. I want you to think of two clients. Maybe you don't have clients yet. Come up with a name for the client. I want you to say, abundance is available for Jerry. Abundance is available for Kevin. Think of people and just claim and recognize it's available for everybody. And what we do is we help clients create abundance from the inside out. We illuminate all the interferences to living abundantly, and we help them conquer it with a proven model that's simple to use, that gets them those results. Now, I want to know, abundance is transformation. Isn't just getting a little bit better. It's really going from 1 to 100 when we live abundantly. And so transformation requires consistency from coaches, because that's what's going to help people feel safe. The more consistent we are, the more it allows our clients to have the room to expand and grow and kind of go through the chaos and the challenges and the celebrations, because they can rely on us to be their steady guide on their transformational journey to abundance. I want to talk a little bit about the art of coaching. The model I'm going to share might be brand new for you. And so I want you to take all the notes. I want you to soak all of this in. If you bought the recording, definitely go back and take even greater notes, because what I'm going to talk to you today is something you can use on your very next session. And maybe the model I'm showing you is something you've already seen. When I share it, you might be like, oh, that model again. But I want to really talk to you about mastery. I want you to maybe think about, well, what is one thing that I can get that's different than what I know? Or maybe what we're going to teach is going to be one other thing that was, oh, that was a good reminder. I have gone through this model for myself many a times, and I taught many a times, and I'm always learning new little nuances and how I could get even better at using this model so I could better serve my clients. And that's my goal here for each and every one of you today. It's called the G.R.O.W coaching model. And what I love about this G.R.O.W coaching model, and I picked this picture because it's grounded. And I think that is one thing that we can offer to our clients, is that grounding. Because sometimes when you talk about abundance, sometimes that sounds kind of like fantasy land. Oh, that's just something out there. But when we base it into something that people can trust and recognize and go with, it becomes more real. And when we talked about on the interference model, belief is one of the key things. So if we can already start building belief that abundance is real and available for them, you've already started this. And so the Grow coaching model gives you that grounding. The process of it, Grow stands for goal, reality, options, and a way forward. Simple question for goal is, what do we want? And then you explore the reality. What are the internal and external perceived barriers to achieving our goal? What are our options? Let's generate some ideas on how we might move from our reality into our goal. And then the most powerful thing you can do as a coach is give people a way forward, actions we are committed to taking. I want to pause a moment because this is very important. I want you to lean into this, but I want you to recognize that both abundance and the grow model is a fractal. Does anybody here know what a fractal is? A fractal is a tiny pattern that's repeated over and over again in such a way that it creates even bigger patterns. And so anytime you can zoom in and you can be able to see these patterns over and over again. So the GROW model is a fractal. You can use this model in a 15-minute coaching session. It could just be, hey, can I talk to you for a moment? All right, what's your goal for this conversation? They say what their goal is. Tell me what's the reality, what you're experiencing. Okay, what are your options moving forward? And then what are you committed to doing in your action going forward? The same is true for abundance. When I began my journey of abundance, there was a part of me that always thought abundance is huge, abundance is big. It's got to be ginormous things like transformational, huge things. But in actuality, sometimes abundance is just doing a small thing. Sometimes it's just adding a little bit of love in our area and feeling a little bit of love because you know what? These small actions feel huge. And once you do little things over and over again, when we continually do the 7 laws in our lives, we look back on our life and we see all of these little things we do creates a very beautiful picture and bigger pattern than we've ever thought possible. So when we go through this, I want you to think about how what I'm teaching can be used in the micro and the macro. It could be done on the smallest thing, and it can also be done from the 30,000-foot level. And it's still available and applicable. One of my favorite quotes by Dale Carnegie is, "People support a world they help create." One of the things I learned as a coach, um, Michael Bumgay Stanier, he has a great book called The Advice Trap. And what I found really powerful, and I don't know if you've experienced this as a coach, we became coaches because we've been on our own journey. And so with that journey, we want to help people. And sometimes in our desire to help people, we give advice. And sometimes that's really good advice. We're like, oh my gosh, if you just did this, everything in your life would completely change. How often do clients love advice? They nod at it, they go, thank you, that was really good, that was really interesting. But how often do they actually follow through on advice? When we look at the GROW model, it's an inside out transformation. And so, as coaches, the more we help them create their own world of abundance, they're going to support it, which means because they support it, they're going to do actions. And because they're doing the actions, they're going to get abundant results. So let's go through the first one. GROW, the first one is a goal. You want to ask, what outcome do you hope to gain from this discussion? You can see from the picture here, They're wanting to go from lack and scarcity. Maybe they're really frustrated or they got some difficulty or things just seem complexity. They're like those wires all tied up earlier when we talked about interference. But what they want is abundance. They want that overflow. They want joy. They want things to be easy, and they're looking for simplicity. So there's many different ways a client is going to describe that, but really help them not only to see what they want, but even think about where are they coming from. They feel lack, and therefore they want that abundance. Now, each law of abundance can have multiple goals. There is no right way of doing this. Maybe their goal is, how do I live this law? Or maybe they've already been living it and now they really want to master that law. Or maybe they want to apply that law to a different area in their life. Maybe they're using the law of abundance in their workplace, but now they want to take it to being a parent or to their partner or in their community. That's the thing that I love about the abundance model is you can really, like that fractal, work with clients on many different aspects just around each of those 7 laws and apply them to different places and to get better. And you also might have a goal around targeting a specific interference. One thing I want you to notice with the goals, sometimes as coaches, we've got to do some work. Fuzzy, non-specific goals are super hard to hit. And so what that means is someone might come to you and say, I just want to be abundant. I want to experience abundance. Well, what does that mean? Where? Like, do you want to be abundant in what you own? Like, you want to have stuff, or do you want to be abundant in your community? Do you want to be abundant with your kids? What does that mean? So sometimes some of our first work is just getting past these non-specific goals because sometimes abundance might be new. People have a feeling that they want something, but because they don't have the specificity, it's going to make it very hard for them to even know what the interference is, because the interference is like behind the fuzzy words, everything kind of out of focus. The other benefit of having a good, solid focus is then you know when you've achieved it. So often we do all this work, and we never get a win because we were never clear what the finish line is. So we feel like we're just going and going and going. And even though our life could be easy, it feels harder because we never know we've arrived. So help your clients in the goal part of Grow to get very specific. The next part is reality. What is currently happening? What are you experiencing? This is where you're going to really explore what's their current faith, fire, and focus. What do they believe? What is their passion about this? And what are they focusing on? Like, we may believe that abundance is available. We may be passionate about abundance, but we're only focusing on what's missing. We're only focusing on competitiveness. So all of these things could lead to the interference. And I like this picture of the scissors cutting the cord, the disconnects or the barriers to living abundantly, to making the laws of abundance become real in their life. Now, it's important when they identify their interferences and barriers, then they are more invested in generating options in the next step. So what we do is we work with our students and we help them know what are the common barriers that many people have to living this in their life. But that expertise only prepares them when whatever comes up for the client comes up. Because we don't want to come out and say, hey, here's the 5 barriers to abundance and here's how you could get over them. What we want to know with our client is, what's your barrier? And when they tell you their barrier, that's telling you they're invested. They're going to take action based off of what they recognize. It's also important in this reality section that it isn't just about interferences and barriers. It uncovers the bright spots. So, like this, they might have a well honed engine, and maybe there's a part in their life that's living and experiencing abundance. Reality is another good way of saying, this is working really well for you. Maybe they haven't considered how that same engine or the same process that that engine went through could help them in another space. So, reality is a beautiful place of uncovering barriers and bright spots. Now, the common interferences that people have with abundance are fear of rejection, fear of success, feeling worthy, belief that abundance law is possible, unclear vision, and emotional regulation. Now, as coaches, I'm sure you have seen this time and time again in whatever it is you're teaching, whether it be marketing, spiritual transformation, music, all of these different things. What we go through in our program is we help all of these kinds of things and more. How do you coach someone through those? How do you help them overcome those barriers? Next part of grow is the O, options. What are some options that you think could help here? You might get someone who says, I don't know any options. Has anyone ever had that client who just does the I don't know? Well, if this is inside out, we can't leave them not knowing. They're not going to trick you into becoming an advice giver. They're not going to have you start going, well, here's some things they could be. You can really engage them by asking them from an avatar perspective. Well, what would your future self say? What would the abundant Sean come back and say his options were? Or for Jennifer, what would past Jennifer say? Or what would your best friend, if your friend came in and saw us having this conversation, what options would they say to overcome and conquer the barriers we just talked about? Or maybe they have a hero. Or what if someone we never knew just came in and said, hey, you guys look like you're having a good coaching conversation. And they said, well, here's what I would do. The beauty of using an avatar perspective is clients are usually able to put themselves in like another character. And when they put themselves into another character, they come up with options, they come up with ideas. And even though it may feel external, it's still coming from inside. So, this options part is incredibly engaging for them to realize they have a voice and say in their creation of abundance. And you're the guide. It's also important to recognize you want them to generate multiple options because it's going to lower fear. Like sometimes, if there's only one way, all of a sudden that becomes like this giant weight. Like, what if the way doesn't work? What if the way is hard? What if? But when you get them to say, like, if you think about from games, do we want to shoot dice? Do we want to play checkers? Do we want to play chess? Do we want to play backgammon? Do we want to whip out some cards? All of a sudden, you've got a few different things, and creating the ideas starts to get their creativity going because now they're starting to think of different ways to make it available to them. And because you're just generating ideas, they don't have the weight of feeling like they need to pick the perfect one. So, really help your clients generate multiple options because it's going to help them in the next step, which is the way forward, which is which option are you committed to taking action on? And I love the word committed. Please make a special note. I want you to circle or write in giant letters committed. I've done a lot of work in the corporate world. And so often people are always like, well, who's accountable? We need to have an accountability plan. Well, it doesn't matter if you have an accountability plan if no one ever committed to it. Help your clients promise and commit. Test their commitment. When they say, oh, I'm going to do this follow-up work, challenge them and say, how do I know you're committed? Don't just say you're going to do this to end the session. I want them to be committed. Also, find out when are they going to complete their action. Once you have a commitment, talk about what's your accountability plan. Maybe they're accountable to you, maybe they're accountable to peers, maybe they're accountable to their families. But if you get commitment to taking action and they know when it's going to be done and they have an accountability plan, that's going to help them move forward. One of the reasons why this is so important, I think it's important in all coaching. I think you should never leave a session without an action commitment, but especially with abundance. There's a quote that I've known from the Japanese world of management that I've been doing for decades, but it is easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than to think your way into a new way of acting. And what that means is we can describe abundance till we're blue in the face. We can describe it with the most beautiful details. We can describe it in the most compelling ways, and people still won't get it. Or they might get it intellectually, but they don't get it. They're not getting those results. They actually have to take the actions to begin to experience it, because the experiencing the action is going to help them experience the abundance, which makes everything we say really make sense. It isn't just an interesting idea, but it's a reality in their life. So that's why way forward is so critical. And the best way we could serve our clients is to help them know their goal, know the reality of all the barriers, come up with a few ways that might help them overcome that barrier, and then commit to one and do it. Because when they commit to one and do it, that's when results start to come. And that's when they're going to come back to you and they're going to be like, more, I get it. And I think that's really it's abundance is more than a mindset. We're taking theory and putting it into practice. And that is the greatest way you could serve your clients, is getting them into action so they actually experience it. Now, why is the GROW model important to you as a coach? One, GROW helps you be present while also providing a structure. What I have loved about using GROW, and I've talked to some other coaches about this, and I always say you want to be structured in your program, but intuitive in the moment, because you know the power as a coach of being present. But we also know the power of getting a client into action by the end of the session. So, knowing the GROW model, I could be very present. And if I know we're wrapping up in like 10 minutes, my brain's going, okay, have we created options? And then have we actually gotten commitment on a way forward? So, this is the opportunity to be able to say, hey, we need to explore more of this. And then let's schedule another session close by so we can continue to build on the work to go from insight into action. Or you can jump right in and start saying, hey, let's stick with the insights you have now. And let's really get you to commit going forward and explore what that looks like. So when people leave at the end of your session, they've gone through this whole mini transformation. And GROW just makes it easier. I know, no, I've gotten calls from clients that, hey, can you talk? Well, when you have those and I haven't prepared, I can go through this process very easily. And it gives you such strength to have a process or a system in place. So that way you can really be there and hear all of the things your client is saying to be able to help them move towards action. And the other benefit is your clients can learn to replicate GROW. So by seeing you do the GROW model multiple times, what you're doing is you're teaching them a similar situation. I've done this with some clients where, because I use this model, and I've had them come back in our session and they'll say, Brian, I had this issue and I went, oh my goodness, I figured out my goal. I thought, here's where my reality. And then I came up with some of these options, and here's what I did. And like, how cool is that once your clients get this basic model? And that doesn't mean they're done with you because they go, look at what you helped me to be able to do on my own. And now you're starting to help them at deeper levels because they could do this a bit on their own too. So it is really cool when you start to see clients replicate that for themselves. And then with Grow, uh, it it creates an abundance goal. It identifies the reality of the bright spots and the interferences, and it generates options that leads to increased abundance, and then it obtains commitment to action for the way forward to get into abundance. And once again, I just want to wrap up about Grow creates abundance from the inside out. Abundance isn't, I learned the 7 laws, I'm living all of them. It goes their stages. We go from the caterpillar, and then we get into our chrysalis, and our wings become strong as we fight through the chrysalis until we and our clients spread our wings. This model is something you can use for yourself in your own abundance journey. You can use it for any client interaction and give them powerful results. But when you use this with the goals of helping your clients experience and live abundantly, that is true transformation that they're going to remember for the rest of their life, and they're going to continue to build on in an exponential way. I am so glad I was able to spend time with you today sharing this model that has worked so well for all of my clients with abundance and anything. And I know it's going to be something that's going to greatly help you going forward. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Brian, that was so good. And let me just share, when I discovered the Grow model, began to implement it, I became a more confident coach myself. I began to step into to creating containers and spaces where my clients knew what to expect. There was built-in trust, and they were really excited for our sessions. Why is getting certified so important? We have a certification program that we are opening up. The doors are getting opened, and so I'm curious, why is getting certified so important?
What I think is important is it gives you a very consistent experience of how to do this. So there's a lot of times you get multiple books and you get all these little things, and it's kind of piecemeal. But the what we've put together is something that's very comprehensive. It isn't just a bunch of weeks on the grow model. The grow model is like one of the first lessons. And what we do is we build on that for all of the things a coach needs to have, whether it be presence or be about courageous questions, and then going into emotional deep dives. It's like recognizing the power of what our clients do and how do we equip ourselves, and how do we equip ourselves in a replicable way. Everything we do in our program gives gives people the you're going to have access to all of the same tools we do, so you're not having to recreate for your client. And I think the other reason why certification is super powerful is we're creating a community around this. So you've got other coaches who are speaking your same language. They know the tools, they know the approach. And so having peers on your journey is so important, because I know when I first started, I felt alone. I felt confident that I was alone, but I really wasn't. I was stumbling and I was fumbling, and having something ready to go and having something replicable and people around you is a game changer. 100%.
And you know, it's so powerful. I think you use the word equip. Like, this is what it is about, is getting you equipped as a coach to be able to go out and do the work of creating more abundance in the world. I mean, that's what we all want, right? We want to create, we want to move people into flourishing. We want to move people towards abundance. We want to expand possibilities. And I know there have been times where before getting trained on how to create breakthrough, it felt like I was like wading through like a swamp, and like it was really unfamiliar territory. And sometimes we'd happen upon an insight that was like, ooh, cool, but I wouldn't know what to do with that insight to turn it into real transformation. And what's really powerful is the certification program that you and I have spent literally months and months and months and months and months creating. It literally does exactly that. It helps people really feel equipped and become equipped to go do the work of abundance. I'm curious, so what kind of coach? So is this like for life coaches, health coaches, business coaches? What kind of coach fits perfectly?
Yeah, really any coach, because um, you and I actually have had a lot of real fun conversations on how would abundance work with a fitness coach. Like, oh my goodness, fitness coaches, it isn't just about what you do with your body, but it's the mind body connection. Same thing for relationship coaches. Like, if you're a relationship coaches, what would a little dash of abundance do for your relationship? I mean, it's huge. I mean, so many people work on connection, but if it's connections towards something bigger, ease, joy, and fun, that sounds pretty awesome. Same thing for a health coach. Health coaches, think about so often. I used to work at a cancer research center, and it was really powerful. As part of our training, once a quarter, they would bring in past patients, and they would share their experience. And it reminded me, there was this one woman, and she was talking about when she had cancer. The hardest thing that she went through was when she can no longer um, cook dinner and do things around the house, and her parent and her kids and husband did it, and she felt like such a failure as a mom. But once you start to see how, from abundance perspective, look at the love in that house, look at the connections, look at how the support that they have. So really helping people see where there is abundance no matter where they're at helps them receive powerfully.
Mm,
Not only give powerfully, but oh my goodness, to really see how wonderful life is. So yeah, so I think anybody in that health realm, because if you're sick, you can really feel lack, like you feel tired. Like, one of my favorite stories is, I can hold a small glass of water for 5 minutes, no problem. It's light, it's easy. But if I had to hold that for 24 hours, that same glass of water is going to be incredibly heavy. My arm is going to be tired. I'm going to be like propping it up. A coach can really help people with that, using these methods and abundance, and really bring it into whatever you do.
so good. And I think what's so important is recognizing that abundance is a collective experience. It's not
Hmm.
just for you. When you have an overflow, that overflow is going to go somewhere. And
Hmm.
what's powerful is this allows you to coach people into in creating that abundance, but also directing that abundance, which is so
Yeah.
powerful. I'm going to give you the last word. You are the executive director of the School of Abundance, our certification program. What is one thing everybody should know about the program before making that decision of, all right, I'm in, I'm going to get certified as an abundance coach?
I think the one thing is, it's kind of going from, are you a hobbyist or are you ready to be a professional? Because I've experienced people who take a class, read a book, and they they have such hearts to serve. I mean, nobody who wants to be every coach, every person who wanted to be a professional coach are some of the most heart-centered people I have ever met. They're my peeps. I love hanging out with them. But so many are struggling in hobby. So many of them aren't getting results for their clients yet because they're kind of dancing in the moment. But when you have a program that you can lead someone to and get them results, one, you're going to get more clients. Two, your confidence is going to go up so high because you start to actually believe what you do. I know we all say we believe in what we do, but there's sometimes a part of us that go, well, it works for me, but is it not everyone? Like to the point where I'm like, everyone needs abundance. Like, go ahead and challenge me in saying this wouldn't help for you. And I think that's what the people who join this program are going to get through the training and through the experience, because we don't let you go out of this just saying, oh, I learned a bunch of stuff. We actually make sure that you're competent and you can actually do it, that you've been coaching and that you have those experience. So when it comes time to say, I am a professional, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, this is absolutely amazing. I'm so glad I'm not just investing in myself, but I'm investing in the clients that I care about transforming in their life. It's going to be huge.
I love it. Moving from hobbyist and really up leveling to professional. Brian, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule, working with all the students to do this presentation. Powerful stuff. Here's the good news. You can get lifetime access to this session and every other session by clicking the button on your screen that says All Access Pass. You click that, you get lifetime access. Now we're giving away $10,000 worth of prizes. How do you enter to win? Share your biggest insight from this session and go join the Facebook group and share it in that group. Every single time you share, you get entered to win one of our incredible prizes. And last but not least, today, for the rest of the day, you're going to hear so many ideas and frameworks and strategies on how you can coach powerfully. Here's what I want you to do. There's a button that says apply for the School of Abundance. You're sharing your interest. You're interested, you want more information. Click that button. It says get more information or apply. There's a button that says School of Abundance. Click on that button. You're going to be able to get so much information about what your next big bold step moving from hobbyist to professional could look like. I'm Sean Q, the host I'm Sean Q, the host of the Abundance Now 2023 Coaches Summit, and I'll see you in the next session.
Grab your All Access Pass today to get lifetime access to all the recordings. A special thank you to our sponsors, the School of Abundance Coaching Certification Program with Sean Q, Indy Law, Your Best Mind, and Business Growth Advantage with Joey Vitale.